Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I am living terrible idea factory Evan Irwin.
Wow, we're still doing that? That's
and get
awesome.
started. I know, it actually helps me say my name. It's weird, but it flows right in now, doesn't it? But we get started as we do each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
We were talking about The Grudge in the pre-show, so I have to...
And if you want more of that, patreon.com/magicmics.
Yeah, what a selling point.
We've got all sorts of wonderful content you probably wouldn't believe. Also, Ruben Bressler.
Hi. We've also got lots of content that you wouldn't want. But you have to take it with... You take the good, you take the bad, and you get the facts of life.
There you go.
And every once in a while, it's like Ruben's writing the joke, and I'm like messing with the document, and Aaron went to go pee or something, and you know, that's your Patreon content right
exactly.
there.
It's really worth it.
All right, we get started this week with our Trumpet Blast, which you can get one if you support us on our highest level on Patreon. Note, next week we will be back on Thursday. I'm sorry, but
Right.
the Jay and Silent Bob Roadshow thing is coming to Orlando. I bought tickets months ago. I'm a huge fan. I'm super excited. It's going to be awesome. And it's Wednesday, so
that's Thursday, November 14th
yes.
is when the show is going to be next week.
Yes.
Then the week after that is the 21st. Is that Thanksgiving yet, or is Thanksgiving the 28th?
28th.
Okay, so we have a regular show on the 20th, and then we'll
Yes.
have to see what we're doing at the end of the month. But good to
Right.
know.
Either way, next week, Thursday, show up then, and we'll be here per usual. We'll also kick it off with our first big giveaway. Give away a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com! !raffle in the chat. Get you in there. If you sub to the channel, you get 2 entries because value.
Nice.
First pick. CommandFest happened this weekend
Hey.
simultaneously in Seattle and Chicago, and Aaron was there.
I was there. It was wild. So I was at CommandFest Chicago with my friend Tappy Toe Claus and our friends Ashley and Ben. Pastimes put on the show. They put on a hell of a show. It was sold out. And I don't mean like they say that and they're holding badges, because our good friend Joe, a little loaf, had wanted to come down Sunday, and they had said it was sold out. And I went up to the TO and I was like, hey, I know you said sold out, but do you have like any wink wink room? And he's like, no bitch, we are sold out. And I was like, holy crap. And so there were so many people there. I mean, it was really well run. Everybody was in really great spirits. There was no shortage of things to do. I think Saturday I was playing until 1 in the morning. Like, it was just game after game after game after game. It went by so fast. There was so much to do. So many lovely people. I got to meet so many of our fans. I got to sign things. I got some awesome gifts. It was just an experience. And you really did get the feeling that you were a part of something special. Like that this was just the start of something really, really big. And so I had a really, really good time. They sell out because when you go to venues, they have capacities where you can't just pack as many bitches as you want in a room. You have to make sure you're keeping up with the fire codes and things like that. So, but yeah, it was incredible. Really great venue. We had comfortable chairs. We had good lighting. It was just wonderful.
Yeah, so CSI was at Seattle. We were there in the room, and it's a different scenario for as a vendor. And here's something I thought was super duper interesting. You know, when you're at a Grand Prix, there is a reason to get up and get out of your seat and move around. It's called between rounds. You finish your round, you get up, you can dawdle and look at stuff and whatever, maybe sell some cards, maybe buy some cards, do whatever you got to do. In Commander, you kind of just play. And then you finish your game and you play another one. And you finish your game and you play another one. So there wasn't a giant need to get up and more or less visit the vendor. So it was really interesting. Now, after Friday, it was a little, sort of skeptical. Is everything okay here? And as the weekend went on, everything was fine. I think they're absolutely terrific events. And I also feel like it's weird in many ways to see as Magic gets more and more casual focused. You see a program like CommandFest happen. You see tournament organizers now being able to run their own CommandFest, like they used to run Grand Prix. And Wizards supports those things. And it turns out when you have competition, you have a better experience. Because as noted here on Reddit, they said, look, for $120, at CommandFest Chicago, you got 3 $10 on-demand events, which awarded 4 packs per player, and 3 $20 schedule events, which were 2 rounds and awarded 4 packs per player per round. So the $125 CFB ran just gave 3 entries to a $10 on-demand event, which awarded 2.125 packs per player. So essentially, what they meant here was that if you could have gone and lost every match, which is whatever, and pastimes, you would have left with a full box of a standard legal set of promo foil Soul Ring and the Command Zone playmat. Doing the same at Channel Fireball would leave you with 6 packs and the promo. So you have yourself a situation now where tournament organizers are going to be vying for your commander dollar. They're going to tell you, look, we have these panels, we have this special thing going on, we have this special guest, we have these special cosplayers. They're going to, actually try to make sure that you have the value there. And that's the beauty of competition. We got out of this monopolistic ridiculousness, and look at what happens. Look how much better they got it. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know, just pretty sure that CFB is going to pay out a lot more at their next CommandFest because the value here is pretty stark.
Yeah, there were even quality of life differences. I know our CommandFest, we had these little ribbons that you could attach to your badge to specify what kind of commander game you were looking for, or what kind of player you are. So there was a casual ribbon, there was a casual competitive ribbon, and then there was just a competitive ribbon, and that helped you find people to play with. There was also a matchmaking system, which was really great. Like if you happened to be awkward or you didn't know anybody who was already there, you could wait in a line and a judge would find you like-minded people to play with. So they would look at your badge. I have my badge in front of me, in fact. So I was casual competitive, and they also had the pronoun ribbons, and then they would find you other people like you to play with. And so that was really cool. That helped avoid a lot of feel bads, because sometimes you're playing with people who are looking for a different, time than you are. It also opened the floodgates to a discussion as to what those words mean. What is a casual commander deck? What is a competitive commander deck? And so we might talk about that. But yeah, it really helped people find, the right people to play with. And Seattle did not have that, which I didn't know about.
I think my favorite idea was literally to make a gigantic monster banner that's like 200 feet long, and on one end is casual, that's like, white, and then goes all the way to like red for like most competitive, and you just sit somewhere in the room based on where you are. That spectrum. I thought that was really cool.
It's a funny idea. It does not work in practice. So you both have interesting insight, having specific eyewitness account and testimony of these initial CommandFests, one as a player and one as a vendor. I want to learn about the vendor thing first. So you said it was because I have more questions about being a player.
Sure.
But I want to start with the vendor thing, which is you said that it was weird.
Well, it was just odd because
is it a value problem? Do you think vendors won't go?
Not necessarily. I think there was worries about value on that Friday. The Friday was a little slow. The room wasn't necessarily full up. They had sold out of, I think, 3-day badges, but they didn't sell out of Friday badges or something like that. But as the weekend kind of rolled on, those fears lessened, and more commerce or whatever happened. And we brought lots of weird cards and like a lot of sort of dollar rares and extra bulk rares and stuff that people just kind of dig through and find stuff. So that stuff all went swimmingly, and other vendors didn't do that.
Yeah,
they should have done that.
We had the opposite problem where we had 1 or 2 vendors that, to be clear, commander players will spend money. Like they are the people that you want to. They are willing to pay more for a better experience, as we've seen, in Vegas and now here. But some of the vendors didn't quite get the memo that they were at a commander event. So I went by one booth and it was like, get your Okos, and it was like, where are your Master Biomancers? Like, I'm here for your trash. Like, where's your Sublime Archangel? Where's your where's your nonsense? Like, that's what we're here for. Where's our God Eternal Oketras? Where's our aestheticisms? Like, that's what we're here for. And so you had a lot of people that were like, get your Okos, get your Mana Crypts, get your Baleful Strixes, and it was like, where are you?
Blood Elf format.
Right, we're here for like your human ally tokens. Bring them on.
Yeah, go ahead and leave your Stifles and your Nimble Mongoose at home. I want Dream Tides and Angus Mackenzie.
I can only imagine how small the sliver of competitive, commander players is. But I would note the #1 most requested card at the booth all weekend was, oh my god, the name just Was Static Orb. Thank you. Was Static Orb. Look up Static Orb.
Why? I'm going to do it right now. I'm not even sure what it does. Static Orb?
Yes.
So it's the for you newfangled folks, it's the ultimate from Dovenbon, but basically each player can only untap 2 permanents a turn.
Why? Who is playing with this?
3 mana artifact. Players cannot untap more than 2 permanents during their untap phases.
Obero, I think it's Obero. Who's the Esper commander that gains you 2 life?
Oloro?
Oloro. People play Oloro stacks.
Wow.
There's a couple of stacks commanders that are out there.
That's hilarious.
Right, and I would also note, and again, this is kind of the inside baseball for the vendors of the world. There's a total different experience when it comes to Grand Prix and Commander Fest in terms of the way people buy cards. At Grand Prix, people will sit down, they'll give you a binder, you know, to go through it, and you put it out in the stuff, and this is how much we'll pay you for these cards. We'll give you stuff in credit. Commander players
shows up with a garbage bag with 3 comic books in it and a sock, and they dump it into a bin.
They're like, I need that $12.50 card. Please take what you need to make that $12.50 happen.
And you're
okay,
like, 5 cents. Wait a second. Why is there $350 in this garbage bag? And they're like, I don't know what that is. I got it when I was 12.
Exactly. So it was a really different experience and in a really interesting way.
Now to the player perspective, Aaron, you had a good time, obviously, and a good time was had by most, I would assume.
Yeah.
It was a capped event. So do you think that they underestimated how many people were going to be interested in this? Because this was a little bit of an epic experiment.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible. You know, all I can say from a player perspective is that I think the event was better because it didn't suffer from a lot of the pitfalls that GPs have suffered from. You weren't waiting in line for pairings. You weren't having to scrounge around for concession stands. Again, you weren't asses to elbows in the tables. You had these nice tables. The chairs even had cloths on them. Like you had good table space, comfortable chairs. We had water stations. I mean, I think we've talked before about how in Japan, they had smaller events, but they were able to give you a better experience. And so I think that this event wouldn't have been as nice if it had more people in it, because you'd have to have a bigger venue. You know, not everybody would be able to get the service they wanted. You would be playing in a more cramped space, or you might be closer to people. I think the event is better served. Like I said, I think with that specific audience, they are willing to pay for a better experience, where, you know, a lot of these grinders, give them $50, no playmat, we're here for the play points anyways, thanks. It's a different audience that requires a better venue and better treatment.
So these were 2 of the 3. The third one is going to be in the middle of December in DC, hosted by Star City Games, which is the other pillar of the tournament organizer kind of community. Now they have the benefit of hindsight, having seen these previous 2. What pitfalls and mistakes do you think they need to make before the next one?
The number one piece of feedback I saw that came down the pike was you got to have some reason for the vendors. You want to have a reason for people to get up, like literally to leave your seat. At Grand Prix, pairings are called, or your match is over, you get up and wander around. Give them some reason. So the thing is, give them panels, give them, like, I don't know, like a cosplay contest or something. Give them something, some form of entertainment, something that is interactive. Maybe you stream a panel from your CommandFest with Sheldon Minery or whoever, because, you know, you paid to get Sheldon out there, or you have these cosplayers up there to give, you know, it's sort of like a talk or a Q&A about their cosplay. Like, these are things that you can make happen to bring more value out of it, other than we rented a room and here's some tables. Like, let's keep going here and try a little bit harder as we move forward.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I mean, ours had a nice round of events you could sign up for. There was 2-headed giant commander, which I'd never seen before. There was an event called Pinata Commander, where I think you attack the pinata instead of the players. There was Plane Chase Commander going on. So they did give you different events that you could sign up for that did require you to kind of wait in line, like at a GP, and sign up and go to certain spaces. And so that was really cool. But yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying about it sometimes, especially when you find like a great group of people, you want to just keep the games going of like, are we having fun? Do we want to do this again? And nobody's getting up at that point unless you have to use the bathroom.
Right. So you have, and you know, SCG has the Commander versus crew that they're able to lean on, so that's really good as well. You know, basically begun these CommandFest wars have, because we now let all the players get the benefit of all these TOs vying for your dollar to show up and play Commander at their spot, and it's going to be great moving forward. I hope that Wizards does not give one TO all the CommandFests, because value's going to go down and prices are going to go up, and now you get to see what happens when there's like they're vying for your dollar, and that's really cool. We all the players always win when that happens. Always.
Yeah.
It's terrific. All right, let's move on here to our next topic and gather the townsfolk. Well, we had our first bannings in Pioneer.
Yeah.
As it turns out, mono green devotion, when you get 2 free devotion from Leyline of Abundance, when you run 8 soul rings in the form of Llanowar Elves and Elvish Mystic, is kind of busted, as it turns out. With Nykthos obviously getting 2 devotion from Leyline of Abundance as well. Just absolutely bananas. Oath of Nissa was also banned, as it's just basically the ponder of the format until they got rid of it. And Felidar Guardian they got rid of instead of Saheeli, and I think it's a good thing because they mentioned that just Felidar Guardian is kind of made to probably break things and not in a good way. So it's fine. But that was our first Pioneer bannings.
Saheeli at least has other applications.
Yeah.
Whereas Felidar Guardian, you're right, is just there only for garbage.
And Twitter was obnoxious about this. Like, I mean, it's been obnoxious all week, but like on Monday in particular, Wizards made the mistake of saying that something might happen after lunch. And then it's Pacific time, so you have to take that into account. But there were people that were literally like hitting refresh. There were memes about lunch. Some people were muting lunch because it was all people were talking about. And then it started to kind of inch into dinner time. And then people were like, oh, second lunch, or Hobbit memes came out. And it was just a really obnoxious way to roll out an announcement. And then the way that people dealt with it. I thought we were waiting on like a standard ban, like something significant. Like, you know, there'd been a lot more talk about Oko, which we'll talk about for sure. But that's what I thought we were all waiting on. And then when it finally came out, I was like, we were waiting on a Pioneer announcement? Like, are you serious? And yeah, people were chomping at the bit. It was wild.
It's kind of amazing when you think about it, that these guys are just like, we're going to go get some lunch, go hang out around a table and talk about what we want to ban in Pioneer.
And then you bitches can wait.
Well, then you come back to HQ and you like change the world. You're affecting hundreds of thousands of players, up to millions of games that you're going to now affect moving forward. Based on that lunch that you had. I still think that's kind of incredible.
The 2 most popular decks by a wide margin were Mono Green Devotion, which got hit, and Copycat, which got hit. The rest of the format is pretty spread out. I think that Red Deck Wins is one of the more popular decks, and like the Phoenix kind of strategies was one of the more popular decks too. But they were leaps and bounds behind Devotion and Copycat, and so it was not surprising to see those 2 decks get hit. I think that the exact cards out of the green deck were a little surprising.
I was not expecting Oath of Nissa.
I was just expecting Nykthos to just get hit.
Yeah.
But you know, I guess they want to see if there's a fair and balanced way to make Nykthos happen.
Well, they're still doing dumb things with mono green. I've been seeing deck lists today that are just, just ramp strategies. You're running Hour of Promise, you're running the Arboreal Grazer. You don't even really need that to do dumb things with ramp.
I saw a hilarious deck that had Hour of Promise and Circuitous Route, and also had Maze's End.
Oh, Lord.
As an alternate win condition, in addition to 4 Field of the Dead.
Did you see the deck that reminded me of you and I?
What was that?
There was a deck I posted in our Discord that was mono red goblins.
Oh, I saw that, yeah.
With God Pharaoh's Gift. And I was like, that is, if you and I had a baby, it would be that deck.
Yeah. How about mono red in Legacy splashing Oko? Yeah, it was in the sideboard, and they had 4 City of Brass and 4 Gemstone Mine,
Gross.
so they could help. And I was just like, "This is disgusting! Y'all are freaking me out! I can't handle this right now." Oko in the sideboard.
Do you think they were serious, or was that just for the memes?
Maybe just for the memes. Another thing I thought was interesting was that, for me, because I wasn't paying that much attention to Pioneer, I was taking a look at some deck lists when they would come out. But they were they were far ahead of all the other decks, and I don't think they gave that impression in terms of the way Wizards has presented data. You know how they kind of try to give you a selection of decks from the leagues that win, and they don't go like, "This is clearly the best deck, not close." When it turns out it was.
Yeah. The green Devotion deck's win percentage was way outside of the
60%?
Yeah, it was something.
Oh my gosh,
obnoxious.
Just well above the waterline number, and so I'm excited that they do have this quick cycle though. I think that's pretty cool to see. And I think we're done with lunch memes at this point.
I don't know. I'm a little worried, though, that every Monday is just going to be obnoxious on Twitter, where it's like, is this going to be every Monday of people like they were just like the hyenas from Lion King, just these gibbering, you know, it was like, no, it was painful.
These gibbering fools, I swear. Well, look, I can imagine that the lunch memes will continue until morale improves, mainly until the format sort of calms down. I can guarantee you by the middle of December they will stop doing weekly B&R updates because they take the last 2 weeks off. It's time to go chill out for the Christmas holiday. Yeah. See you guys later. And then it will join the natural ban and restricted update cycle, as it should be. So this is really great. I love it. Even if we did find the decks that were over 60% win percentage, whenever you're over 55, like across the field, you're probably going to be banned of some nature. But again, it's fine. This is what they wanted it to do.
Right.
Break it, so they broke it.
Yep.
High five. All right. Let's see here. Olivia Gobert-Hicks.
Yes.
What was your name on Twitter again? Forgive me.
Gobert-Hicks.
Gobert-Hicks. There you go. Or basically her last name.
Yeah.
Joins Commander Advisory Group. I thought that was really terrific.
Yeah, so Olivia is a dyed-in-the-wool Commander player. She's known for her cosplay. She also streams really interesting streams. Her and her friends do live Commander. I don't mean on Magic Online, but they make their setups where you can watch them play Commander even though they're not in the same room. So they'll like tilt their cameras down, or they'll set it up in such a way to where you can see their playmat with real cards. They all have microphones. She's really putting out unique content. Obviously, she's an amazingly talented cosplayer. She's been working on Atraxa again as a way to... she did Atraxa before for a Japanese event, and she's trying to do it bigger and better. So she's just a brilliant cosplayer. She does metal work as well. Just ridiculously talented, has her finger on the pulse of Commander, and she was inducted into their board or their group, and I think she's going to be a really, really good fit. It's neat the way that they have people that bring different things to Commander, that view Commander differently, so that everybody can get some representation there. And the thing that stuck out to me the most is how proud she looked to be in that picture. Like, you could just see the look on her face of like this sense of pride that she had made it there. And to have Sheldon Menery and Scott Larrabee choose you is just like, wow,
Yeah.
Right. That's fantastic. I'm going to bring up that image on the screen here now so you guys can take a look at it. Again,
something else that she does that I'm not sure that it was touched on in chat just now, but something that she does that I thought was notable, particularly for Commander, is she makes these blinged out metal commanders that you can get essentially master crafted. And I know that Jimmy and Josh have at least one each from the command zone, and I've seen several of them be used as commanders in the past. They're super cool.
Very nice. All right. So, congratulations to her. Numot the Nummy mentioned, Kenji Ikashira mentioned that the Pioneer PTQ had 400 people.
Wow.
Almost 400 people. But, like, that's a lot of people to be involved in the first ever PTQ on Magic Online.
Yep.
That was super sweet.
Pretty good.
Unfortunately, he went 0-2 drop. But.
Well,
yeah, the Nerd Rage event also was a huge hit. That was this past weekend. So if you weren't able to play Commander Fest or it wasn't your jam, if you were in the Madison area, that was the event that started off as a standard event that nobody wanted to go to. And then within hours, it turned into a very successful Pioneer event. They had coverage, a slew of interesting deck lists. There was a Seasons Pass deck that was doing well, which was our preview card. And so it's always nice when cards you previewed. I lost to, there was a young man on Garutama, the big worm that we got to spoil.
Yeah.
I was like, that's our card! And so it never gets old seeing your cards out in the wild.
Nice. 160 players showed up for that. Which
yeah.
was really awesome. So congratulations to Nerd Rage for that awesome turnout. But yeah, so Pioneer, again, is just absolutely on fire. People are very excited about it. New formats are always exciting. And I'm glad to have them. All right, so MTG Content CreatorsAwards.com exists. Put that in the chat. And also be in the show notes. But MTG Content Creators Awards.com, we just so happened to have gotten an award last year, which I thought was...
Podcast of the Year!
We became the award-winning
We did.
Magic Mics. It was a real thing. So if any of our viewers, listeners, fans would be so kind as to go and vote for us, I wouldn't stop you. I wouldn't be upset at that.
All of the nominations are open, so please do give love to your favorite content creators of all kinds. It is encouraged for us to not nominate ourselves because that's kind of tacky to nominate yourself, right?
I mean, I just did, but it's fine. Who cares?
No, it's fine. But you're not physically going to the website, which is mtgcontentcreatororawards.com, and doing it yourself. But if you were to go to mtgcontentcreatorsawards.com and click on the best MTG podcast, what size are we?
Huh? I think we were medium.
We were medium? We're still probably still medium. So yeah, if you were to click on that, then perhaps you might be doing us a favor, which would be very nice. But you should also do it for your favorite streamers, your favorite artists, your favorite YouTube channels, your best the best article of the year is a big one as well. So feel free to go do that.
Very nice. All right. So Face It literally Face It on Twitter.
Face It.
This is for Magic the Gathering Arena players. The European League has arrived to establish an official competitive circuit for European Magic esports.
Nice.
You can now sign up. The signups are now open on Face It, with the first qualifier taking place on the 10th of November.
Cool.
So I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, and it's a big gaming company platform, mostly in Europe, but they're a big deal. So them opening up to Arena and playing stuff alongside, the big boys like CS:GO and Destiny, that's a big deal.
Yeah,
and so looking forward to seeing how that happens.
As esports continues its kind of odd climb to popularity / sponsored events, okay. I mean, all this stuff looks great. Good luck to all those who are competing.
Yep. I think I'm going to be in the next Twitch Rivals, by the way.
Are you?
Which is kind of cool. Yeah,
that's great.
Got the email today, so I think I'm going to do that. So I will have more news about that once I know what I'm doing. But yeah, that'll be like a post-band event, I think.
There's some stuff about that.
Magic, so this is difficult for me. But
Ruben,
I'll do what I can.
What's a Magic card? I don't understand.
Don't know. It's not
all right.
I do.
I don't even know what a Twitch Rivals is, but I'm happy for you regardless.
Yeah. Okay, Boomer. Don't know what a Twitch Rivals is. with your
wow.
What's an internet? Where are we right now?
Let me take a screenshot, or let me take a picture of the monitor with my phone.
Yeah.
All right. So, moving into Desperate Ravings. GP Lyon happened.
Lyon!
GP Lyon happened.
Wow! GP Lyon, y'all!
I'm Southern, get over it. All right. All I know, that's right, thank you. Those are bits for the accent, y'all.
Wow. GP.
Boy, he ain't lying.
Hell far, y'all. I come from the holler, all right? I come from the holler.
Now, the GP may be lying, but these stats...
Apologies to any of our French fans out there.
Oh, my God. Well, I apologize. But
man,
GP...
It's like
Lyon.
Ernest Goes to GPs. Just...
Hell, GP Lyon? Y'all play Magic cards here? Just...
Ooh, I love these stats.
These stats are insane. Okay, look, listen, seriously. Okay, after Forest, Swamp, Mountain, Island, Fabled Passage, if the number 1 played card and number 2 played card thereafter are Noxious Grasp and Veil of Summer, your standard format is broken. Your standard format is smashed.
Now, to be fair, those are between main decks and sideboards, are these stats.
Sure, and that's fair. But if those are, again, think about it as the most played cards.
I mean, I would rather see that than Eternal Weekend. So the Eternal Weekend was this past weekend, and they just released, one of the things the Eternal Weekend is known for is they publish every single deck list. I think there were 430 copies of Narset in the room, out of 200 players. So that card is obnoxious. If I had to choose what metagame I want to play in, I will absolutely trudge through a field of Summers than freaking Narset.
We're not done with how bad skewed Standard is.
Okay.
Because, I mean, so I'm trying to think of the most skewed formats in recent memory.
I mean, do we really have to go back to Callblade? I mean, no, this would be Energy.
Energy was pretty gnarly.
Energy was pretty bad. There was a minute there where Jund was like a quarter of the modern format.
Emrakul, after Emrakul came out in Shadows,
Yeah,
that was a pretty busted
But more
format.
than 22% of the standard day one metagame is this Sultai food deck, that's a huge problem.
It also just sounds dumb. Like, Sultai food. Like, it just...
Like, GP Nagoya's top 8 was Simic Food, a blue-white control out of nowhere. Simic Food, Sultai Food, Bant Food. Like, seriously. That is where we're at. It's just kind of gross to this point.
Of the two GPs, one had 22% Sultai Food, the other had 28% Sultai Food. And that's a problem.
And we are not calling it bug food, okay? I know you're bug food, bug juice.
Bug juice. That's the name.
Wow, bug food.
We did it right. Post it.
Bug chunky up in here. It's going to be great.
Liked and retweeted. Bug juice. I like
Very
it.
nice. Very nice. All right, look. AetherHub has free weekly community tournaments, and they have already banned Oko in their next 2 tournaments. They ain't waiting for Wizards. Yeah. We ain't got time for all that.
Wow.
I like it. I like that. That's a cute thing to do.
That's really cool. I've linked the I linked the tweet in the chat. Andre Liverode, I believe is how you say that. We are pre-banning Oko.
You can say that, but you can't say Lyon.
GP Line. They got themselves magic cards.
I'm pretty
they
sure
get to play them.
I'm pretty sure you should have pronounced it and relive Ra.
And
should have done.
Oh my god.
Okay. Well, all I know is they are pre-banning Oko in their next 2 tournaments. Join in and explore a fresh standard next Saturday. They say.
Okay.
So I'm ready for it. I'm ready for post Oko at this point. Somebody asked me this morning at work, and they're just like, "Evan, are they going to ban Oko?" I'm like, "Yes, they're going to ban Oko." Oh my god, that card has just warped literally almost every format at this point. Eternal Weekend was in every winning deck. Am I wrong?
There were five decks that played Oko in the top 8, and I believe there was I think the event was won by a Black Lotus that had been elked. Or it was in a very prominent match in the top 8. Like, it was just absurd.
Like, how 2019 are we in right now, where the way Eternal Weekend was won was Oko turned Black Lotus into an elk to swing for the win? That's amazing.
That is peak meme.
That's amazing.
I mean, also just the fact, I think this doesn't get talked about a lot, but it's also being used as a way to bring Oath of Druids, you know? One of the things about Oath of Druids was you really needed the Forbidden Orchard to be able to make that spirit token, or you needed them to play a creature, which, you know, aside from shops and maybe Bug, I mean, it's kind of a crapshoot whether or not they're going to play creatures, but you can just turn your Mox Opal, your Mox, and you got a creature, and then whoop, Oath of Druids is on. Like, that's brilliant.
Oko Druids.
Yeah.
Oko was in the winning list of all 3 formats at Eternal Weekend, and I just can't stand it. That's amazing. And just shows you the power of this ridiculous planeswalker that is...
There was an interesting ruling that came up over the weekend about what happens if you make a Magus of the Moon an elk.
Yeah.
And evidently, because of the way layers work, your mountains are still mountains.
That's so stupid.
Yeah, and then someone was asking a question. I guess there was some interaction between the Elks and Tabernacle.
Yeah.
I wasn't...
If the Tabernacle is out and you make something an elk, you don't have to pay for it. If you make an elk and then you play the Tabernacle, it sees the creature, and now you have to pay the upkeep on it. That makes no sense.
Oh, so let me just make sure. So if the Tabernacle's out already,
yes,
and you elk something, it's immune.
Well, not immune. It just loses the ability, because Tabernacle grants an ability.
Right. Oh,
removes the ability.
So if wow.
Mm-hmm. So the ones that are already out there are not affected, but the ones you make later are affected or whatever. And just it's bad. It's ridiculous. The point is, God help Oko. Michael A. Jacob noted here on Twitter. He said the next 2 high-level events will be.
I really like him.
He's a good.
Just a random fact.
Will likely be followed by an updated ban list. This will be the Mythic Championship 6 and the SCG Invitational. None of the deck lists will matter, as the format will be different. No desire to watch these events or follow coverage. Depressing time to be a competitive Magic player. And I, for one, disagree. I feel like there was benefit and intrigue, maybe for a very short window, but like I enjoyed watching very good players play Caw-Blade. I enjoy watching very good players play Energy. okay, maybe not energy, but very much so Callblade, because Callblade was very skill based, whereas energy was like, you spin the wheel or whatever. But there I think is benefit to having high level play with really powerful stuff. And yeah, it's going to be different, and yeah, it's going to be, it's never going to come back after this weekend. But we got to see its last hurrah. I mean, this is just like Hogak. Hogak got one last Grand Prix, and it was silly and busted, and then we just moved on with our lives.
Fair.
I think Ruben's about to drag me to the red zone over here.
I was gonna, but like, it's. I don't even want to talk about it. It's like, you're wrong, but I don't want to defend the issue. So like, you can bring the red zone up for like 5 seconds, and I'll just be like, yeah, that's stupid, and no one's gonna watch. No one's gonna watch. No one cares. I don't think. First of all, if you're disagreeing with Michael Jacob about anything Magic the Gathering, you can pretty much put all of your money on that you're wrong. Because Michael Jacob, aka the Darkest Mage, is top 10 smartest people.
He's a good dude. I've known him for a long time.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I think he's not wrong. Also, there is something to be said about. I don't think that the Sultai Food Mirror is particularly fun or interactive. Like, there's not a lot of nuance to it, like there was with the Callblade mirrors. There weren't fun, interesting mirror match things that happened, like Jund mirrors.
There also isn't that sort of
who gets turn 2 Oko. It's like.
Are there people? I have to be honest though. You bring up something, a weird little quirk of mine. I don't like the mirror of any deck I've ever played. Like, if it were up to me, even Dredge. Like, there are times where, like, whenever I face another Dredge player, I'm just like, can you not? Like, I want to be the only Dredge player.
The mirror feels a lot like the what was that stupid artifact that cheated Ulamogs into play?
Aetherworks Marvel.
Aetherworks Marvel. It feels like that. It's like, who gets Jin? Who gets the 3-card combo first? And those weren't fun or interactive or fun to watch or good for anybody. And I'm just gonna put my vote in the other column. And you're wrong, and I hate you.
That's great. Terrific. Good to know. Well, Ethan Fleischer, who works in R&D,
love him.
Yeah, he's great. He did try to give a little bit of insight on Oko, shed a little light on the Thief of Crown's humble origin, as he notes. He tries to essentially give you some context, like, hold on, people. There's a lot of people involved in this process. There's a whole bunch of people from stories, a whole bunch of people from R&D. There's design, there's development, there's play design. All these things have to come together. For example, they could say the seed of a Planeswalker's creation can take many forms. It could be a visual design like Saheeli. It could be a character or a creature archetype like Sorin and the vampires and whatnot. It could be particular game mechanics like Commander, letting this Planeswalker be your commander. It could be attempt to capture a pre-existing character like Dak Faden, which they had to kind of go back and do, as it were. But Oko began in 2 places. The game designers had long been looking for an opportunity to introduce a clone master Planeswalker, which I thought was interesting. Tried to make him during Commander 2014, but didn't work out and got a pre-mending Teferi instead. Merely cloning things didn't seem like a big enough portfolio for a character, so polymorphing and transmuting felt thematically connected. And then what could they, green was natural second color, perhaps this could be a member of the Simic Combine. Essentially, like, it all came together, and Oko is super cool, except the card's overpowered. And
exactly. The combination of the abilities from just in a vacuum, just looking at Oko, it's like, make a food, make something an elk, a 3/3 with no abilities, like your food, and then exchange control of things like taking control of other elks. Like, the way the abilities all mesh and meld and are interesting together, it's a very cool Planeswalker. It was just way too pushed.
Way too pushed. I mean, if the middle ability had been 0, middle ability had been -1, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. All right. Moving on here. Riki Hayashi, who has been in the judge program for a very, very long time, known for many, many years, he has a new blog post up, and I'll put a link here in the chat. You guys want to go check it out. It's called It's in Karate.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
And this is a good old-fashioned racism, essentially, as he breaks down sort of how these words affect people, what they mean, the stereotypes, and how they keep being reinforced. And essentially, when someone said at an event, "Can I get an oracle text for this card?" It's in karate, and they're
which they said to an Asian judge, like what?
Which they did, and it was a Japanese card. So the judge also gave him an unsporting conduct minor, which was later upgraded by, I believe it was Ricky himself, to a major, which meant they lost the match as a result of that behavior. And again, he kind of goes into why this happened, why this behavior can hurt people and the harm it can cause. And also at the end, a really cool, I think, kind of twist, which was Ricky was has actually spoken to that player directly about what he was writing about here, and that player recognizes that what they did essentially was wrong and that they shouldn't be doing that in the first place, and here's why.
Yeah. Really good blog post. This particular lineup of commentators is not well equipped to go further, and I suggest that you just read the blog post yourself. Ricky Hayashi has written several posts over his long and illustrious history about his dealings with racism in the Magic community. This comes from an interesting place, being the judge called over for an issue. And yeah, I just think that this is a fun learning experience for everybody that we can all grow from. Really well written little blog post. Go check it out.
This is one of those posts that I feel judges, if you're in the judge program, it is beneficial to you to read this and understand this as to why it's important and why things changed from a minor to a major and the thinking behind that. Jeremy Dezani had a odd opponent, I guess it were. He was 5-0 and was playing against somebody. They got called for a feature match, and his face changed, and he asked me why we can't refuse to go there. And Jeremy said, it's fine, no pressure, we just have more space, it's cool. And it turns out, long story short, the guy didn't want anyone watching him play because he had been banned as a cheater and got a fake DCI account with a new identity.
Wow.
Yeah, and he got a DQ from the GP, and the account got deleted, and so got the attention they didn't really want, and was also 5-0. Isn't that weird? That's kind of strange.
Weird how that happens.
Yeah, how the banned person was 5-0.
What a strange thing to have happen.
It's just one of those things where the DCI system is set up where you can get a new identity immediately, and there's no real, stopgap for there. Yeah, exactly. There's no one checking to make sure that you're a real person, that you're not another copy of someone. And hell, I know many people have multiple DCI numbers because they didn't want to be bothered or whatever. Didn't want to be bothered for to actually keep their DCI number up. Like, I have memorized my DCI number. It's 6 digits from 1995 or whatever. So I'm good there. Yep. But not everyone can memorize their 9 or 10 digit number.
Mine's 8 digits and I've had it memorized, but most of them are 10 digits, and what else is 10 digits is your phone number. And so I know a lot of people just have DCI in their phone, and then when they type in DCI into their contact information, they just bring up their phone number. So it's but yeah, there's nothing preventing you from going and getting another DCI number, which is kind of unfortunate.
I mean, this is this is sort of like that. This is the scummy behavior they don't want in the game, which is you were kind of disqualified and/or given a suspension for a reason. You don't get to circumvent it and then not essentially get re-DQ'd and have probably a longer suspension on top of it. So one of the things to keep an eye out for, it's not really something you can, I think, just find.
Yeah.
This is about player behavior. This is about what your opponent does, the way they talk, the way they're trying to present themselves, and what happens when they get attention. So it's a little weird, but ultimately it was kind of interesting how Jeremy was able to notice it and then call it out. Rebecca Gay is a very popular artist.
Hashtag gay pride.
Hashtag gay pride, as it should be. And this is a really interesting setup here. So if you didn't know, there is an entire, very, very active, very, very into sort of the culture of MTG art. The MTG art market, there's buyers and sellers. Almost everyone kind of knows each other, as it were. There's certain people who sort of buy a lot of art, and there's certain people who help broker art to be sold.
There's also signature groups. Like if you're trying to get people to sign cards, there are certain people that broker that, where they're in touch with certain artists, and then they have like an artist of the week or an artist of the month where they will gather all of these cards and send them to them, which is really cool.
And this one came up to the MTG art market on Facebook, and they mentioned that Rebecca Gay's vault of signed artist proofs are going to be opened up to avid collectors. And they say they're accepting orders with a minimum of $500 worth of signed artist proofs.
Interesting.
So this is a really interesting way to kind of put up mean, not necessarily a barrier, as it were, but like you got to be for real. You know, you got to be like actual serious if you're going to put $500 into buying certain products. And so, for those who are looking for those types of signed artist proofs, there's a whole bunch of sort of ways they're going to be sliced and diced in these based on the rarity of the card and how expensive it is and the artwork on it and so on and so forth. But ultimately, and I'll leave a link here for you guys because this came from Mike Linneman, to go get some of Rebecca Gay's artist proofs because they only make 50 and that's it.
So this is I'm actually surprised more, or my hunch is that this is going to be picked up by more artists in the future, particularly those artists that don't go to a ton of events. That making money off of artist proofs is kind of difficult, particularly if you're sending them in 1s and 2s and you're getting chewed up by shipping and handling. So I think that this is a strategy for the future. This is not a one-off event. I think that this is a brilliant brilliant business model that I think that all artists should probably be picking up because I think it's going to work.
Yeah, it seems like a good idea. Again, some artists can kind of sort of accumulate these artist proofs over time. If you don't have a way to get rid of them, you don't have a website you're selling through, you don't have sort of the shipping and handling and stuff taken care of, artists can just sort of put them in a backlog. Yeah. And this is a good way to say, look, we want collectors to have these because they value them very highly. It's something people collect, and it's Rebecca Gay, who doesn't do a lot of stuff in the art market, so that's really cool and unique. And this is a opportunity for those people looking for that stuff. All right, moving on here. There was an interesting article on Hipsters of the Coast noting why it's time to address FOMO in Magic. Aaron, do you feel like you have a fear of missing out from all these crazy products?
Actually, no.
Aaron's probably not the...
It's interesting because they kind of center a little bit on Modern Horizons. Because again, if you notice that there was starting with I guess it was April. There were like 4 months in a row where it was just set. There was multiple things being released. We were in like nonstop spoiler season for months, and we finally made our way out of it. And at the end of it, Modern Horizons was one of the best draft sets of all time. But you wouldn't know it because you didn't have a lot of time to either buy it or open it or even draft it in the first place. Because oh my God, M20 is coming. Pay attention to M20, and we're kind of on to the next thing. And Modern Horizons becomes this place where you get rented sixes for $100 or whatever. So the idea, I guess, essentially to me was that Magic is growing too fast. Is a point they make here. It's that Magic's making money for Hasbro hand over fist at this point, and a lot of things were what Wizards can do. How about slow down? Could you slow down? But I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing that can be really helpful with this, and I mean, I certainly experienced this, years ago, but there's a lot of white noise when it comes to Magic. When, you have articles and deck lists and things like that, but really kind of asking yourself, what do you personally care about? Where, if you're a vintage player or you're a legacy player, a lot of this isn't really going to affect you. If you're not a sealed player, if you are a commander player, you don't necessarily have to, be abreast of everything as it happens if you know that it's something you're not really into. And I know sometimes it feels like you have to care. You do... but it's just not that big of a deal if you know that most of it doesn't affect you. If you play all these formats or, whatever, then of course these are going to affect you. But I think we just don't know how to tune that noise out. And I was guilty of that when I first started playing Magic, but, it's hard to do that, but I think it's necessary, if that made sense.
One of the things that resonated the most with me in terms of what she was writing about was, and this is just honestly for me personally, just like as we get older, and I'll be 40 next year. Oh my God. But you really start to realize that you're on this earth for so many seconds. There is a clock ticking down somewhere to zero, and that's all you got. And there's only so much time you can put into any one product. There's only so much Brawl you can play, commander decks you can build, standard queues you can run through. Like for example, for me, I didn't get a chance to play in the Artisan event on Magic Arena. I was super busy and just didn't get around to it. I literally entered it last night and wasn't able to finish my games, and it's over as of this morning, so I'll never be able to get to those showcase frames. That bothers me because I'm missing out on them, which sucks, but again, there's just not enough time for everything they seem to be cramming into Magic these days. And as a result, you don't necessarily want to, miss out on all the opportunities to have fun.
But it's also not all for you. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but it's like, it's really easy to be like, I need to be at CommanderFest. I need to be at the GP. I need to be at the Mythic. No, you don't. I bought into that when I first started playing Magic. I bought into the dream that I needed to be on the Pro Tour. I don't need to be on the Pro Tour. I have no desire to be on the Pro Tour. But when it's all happening around you, you feel like you should be there. But if you really look at yourself and go, do I really want this? Do I really, really want this? The answer is usually no. Does this really affect me? When you're looking at, Oko, do you really play a format? Do you play a deck that really, you probably don't, And so it's very easy to, when you see something happening around you, it's very easy to feel like it affects you somehow when it's likely that it doesn't. I remember when the Jerry T thing was going on and Jerry T had boycotted Worlds, you had all these grinders that were like, yeah, me too. And it's like, girl. Like, you do not, Jerry T's problems are not your problems. It's very easy to feel like it is. But, again, just having those conversations with yourself, do I really care about this? Does this really affect me? And the truth of the matter is it usually doesn't. And that makes it a lot easier to deal with the influx of all of these products and these events going on.
This was one of the front runners for Article of the Year for me, at least. I read this article and was just like, yep.
Oh, she's brilliant, yeah.
Every sentence, every paragraph, I was like, this is Kristen Gregory, by the way, in case you aren't familiar. Everything that she touched on, I was like, yep, that's exactly right. And it's a lot of it is identifying what is for you. But there's like 4 articles happening in this article. One thing is that Wizards of the Coast, and being a subsidiary of Hasbro, is squeezing Magic players for every last dollar, and it's making people have fatigue. That fatigue is leading to FOMO. It's leading to burnout. It's leading to these other things. And, it's never going to be, there's never going to be less. Because now that you're at this, what used to get you by on 3 sets a year, 4 sets a year, now you're trying to get 8 sets a year, and Hasbro isn't going to move back. It's just like the ever-expanding sports leagues want to have so many more games a year. Well, when you cut games, you lose money. When you cut sets, you lose money. So it's not going to happen. So
there's a really great chart that shows like releases, like Magic releases per year, and over the last few years it just goes up, like just crazy. And then was looking at it, and someone was like, "Oh, what happened there in like 1996?" And I was like, "Well, let me tell you a little something about Homelands and Fallen Empires." And it was very rough.
There's a saying that I like to use, which is. It doesn't apply directly here, but I will make it apply here, which is you can be anything you want to be, but you can't be everything you want to be. And it's similar to this, which is you can play any type of Magic you want. You can be any type of Magic player you want, but you can't be every type of Magic player.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's only so many dollars. There's only so many matches. There's only so many weekends. And you got to pick and choose, I guess.
And you got to have that conversation with yourself too, and I see it sometimes on social media, people that, are being stretched very thin, and I just want to be like, just really look at what you're doing and say, do I really need to be doing all of this? Because odds are you probably don't.
Fair. All right, so let's move on here to a little bit of splash damage. Aaron, you want to talk a little bit about this FTC thing?
Yeah, so I thought this was fascinating. So the FTC recently updated their rules for influencers, which you could argue that we're kind of on the fringe of. We sometimes, we get to take part in the early access events and we get preview cards. And, you may have noticed that we've been a lot more diligent when it comes to adding that sponsored hashtag. And that's because Wizards asks us to do that. And the FTC is adding more rules for influencers in terms of what they need to disclose prior to advertising products. And I thought this was really, really fascinating. For example, there's a part here that says you have to disclose when you have any financial, employment, personal, or family relationship with a brand. Financial relationships aren't limited to money. You must disclose the relationship if you got anything of value to mention a product. If a brand gives you free or discounted products or other perks, and then you mention one of its products, you have to make a disclosure even if you weren't asked to mention that product. Don't assume your followers already know your brand relationships. There's a part here about making sure that people understand these disclosures and not burying them, using simple and clear language that, the brand, was responsible for this, not talking about experiences with products you personally have not tried. I know that's one thing I really care about is I like that we are sponsored by people that we actually use, that, we do use Card Hoarder, we do shop at Cool Stuff Inc., we did use Card Images tokens, I'm really glad that we're not selling electronic toothbrushes or that we're not selling caffeinated beef jerky or whatever the hell's going on. And there's rules about that now, that you can't just be using...
I don't know what to tell you.
Well, it's the FTC. It's not me.
We're going to be selling socks, underwear.
If you're paid to talk about a product and thought it was terrible, you cannot say it's terrific. You can't make up claims about a product that would require proof the advertiser doesn't have, such as scientific proof that a product can treat a health condition. This is fascinating. Like, they're clamping down.
Now, does this qualify as someone who has a couple of sponsored shows? Do I have to disclose that I'm sponsored by other sponsors on other shows if I'm talking on this program?
That is a good question.
Because
if you're discussing them.
Because, for example, I have a contract with Wizards of the Coast. For my D&D show. Right. Do I need, when I say, boy, Magic the Gathering's great, sponsored by Wizards of the Coast?
Not necessarily. I think in your realm, it's if we talk about D&D, you can say, well, look, I got a D&D show, #sponsored, but, and then you kind of go on about D&D, because it's the context.
Do I have to do that every time? That's the worst.
FTC ain't playing around, man. This to me looks like they're ready to crack down on some people doing some silly stuff.
Listen, if I like something, then you just assume that they paid me to say it.
Wow.
Because I don't like much, but I like it when I get paid.
Hey-o. All right, time for maybe one-ish more story here.
We got to talk about the Hearthstone young lady.
That's what I was going to say.
So over the weekend, BlizzCon was actually last weekend. Huge weekend for gaming. And there was a young lady named VK Lyon with lots of O's. And she won the Hearthstone Global Finals. And this was a really, really big deal because she was not only the first woman to win let me get on my first right here. She was the first Chinese player to secure the title. She was the first woman to win a Hearthstone Grandmasters event, and this was also the first time a female player had taken home a championship trophy at BlizzCon across all Blizzard titles. This was a really, really big deal, like 23 years old, just an incredible game. I don't even like Hearthstone, and I enjoyed watching her victory. She was incredibly gracious. She had a great, encouraging speech aimed at female Magic players. This was just wonderful, and just, more ground being broken when it comes to gaming and esports.
And she demolished the field, from what I gather. She had a sweep in the finals. Just a really impressive show.
The Hunter deck, I believe.
Yeah, the Hunter deck was the breakout deck of the tournament. And it's always fun to see. Fun's not the right word, but it's. So I was in poker for a very long time. And seeing women win open events in poker makes me feel good. Just because there are so many barriers that to go on top of all of those barriers and still prevail over the people who have like the white guy. There's no barriers for me, right? Comparatively speaking, and so. To see 23 years old Chinese come to the United States and take down the biggest tournament in the game, it's inspiring and it's awesome.
Yeah,
and I want to see more.
Yeah, it was inspiring to me too. Like, even if you're not at that level, like I'm just trying to get enough vintage points to qualify for the playoffs again in December. And so even before this, I was kind of hemming and hawing, where it's like, well, I should probably play a league and I should do this. But seeing that was like, I'm playing leagues every day. It just puts something in you where even if that's not your goal, even if you're not trying to aim that high, it still puts this pep in your step of like, you know what, that league I said I was going to do, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do 2 leagues, and it really just lights a fire under you of you want to be, you just feel like anything's possible. It feels great.
It was also funny for me to see people come out of the woodwork as closet Hearthstone fans from Twitter that were just like, hey, my favorite player, VK Lyon, won. And it's like, I didn't realize that Olivia Munn played Hearthstone. It was just like, where did that tweet come out of nowhere?
Yeah.
Like 2 or 3 celebrities that were like, yeah, VK Lyon. And I was just like, where did you come from? What happened?
What happened? That's incredible. Last little bit here. We have begun the slow but steady pace for Magic to become a brand of which you can just have a video game about. we have such a sort of rich amount of story, characters, spells and cards and whatever, that Wizards has gotten more and more lax about letting other developers take the Magic IP and kind of run with it. And Magic Mana Strike is coming up, created by Netmarble for mobile phones, and this is essentially Clash Royale. If you've played Clash Royale, you've basically played this game, where you have kind of an auto battler where you set up units and then they just kind of go, and you're able to use different cards in your hand to kind of upgrade them as they play in the battle and whatnot. Super interesting. I'll leave a link right here to AetherHub.com, who covered not only sort of what it looks like and how it looks like sort of a completely different way to play Magic, but also how it works in monetization, how you can play it right now, which you have to actually use a VPN to go through Canada in order to play it. So if you really, really want to play it, they give you instructions.
You gotta go through Canada.
Yes, you cannot get it through the U.S. right now.
Once again, we're relying on Canada.
Tell you what. So Mana Strike does exist. It is really interesting. Again, this to me just looks like Puzzle Quest, which is it's a skin. And if you like Magic and you want to have a skin on your favorite type of game, which also brings me to Hearthstone Battlegrounds, which is in early access right now, and it is a auto chess battler. And as I have become completely, totally in love with Dota Underlords, which is a auto chess type game. Auto chess games are very, very friendly to Magic players. It's very similar to drafting, and it has a very awesome competitive streak that runs through it. And so Hearthstone kind of has their own version at this point, which I think is amazing. And I really, really, really don't want Wizards to make an auto chess game 4 years from now. Like, if you're going to make one, make it. If you're not going to make it, get some other company to make it, because it is the hotness right now. It's just like Battle Royale 2 years ago. Auto chess is the new hotness and has gotten nothing but blown up in terms of, eyeballs and excitement across a whole lot of genres. There's Teamfight Tactics, there's the original auto chess, there's Dota Underlords, and now there's Hearthstone Battlegrounds. The idea that you draft characters and then you kind of put them in position and then let them attack each other until the round's over, that is a huge concept right now.
I feel so old. I have no idea what any of that means.
Well, I thought it was just me. I was just like,
I'm now the boomer. I'm now
urban boomersler.
Decrepit and,
Okay, Xer, thanks. Appreciate that. Well, either way, that means we are going to turn the corner here to the finisher. Breaking news here on Magic Mike's, never before reported anywhere else. Oko is Broko. Banned in Brawl this week, taking over Standard, Pioneer, Modern, Legacy, and now Vintage. We reached peak meme over the weekend as a Black Lotus got turned into a 3/3 elk to help attack for lethal in the Vintage Championships. It seems that everything and everyone is all elks all the time, and I'm not sure how many more bridges we have to cross before we achieve the final front elk. So tell me, what else is left for Oko to conquer? Aaron?
Well, Oko is nothing that I'm interested in, but there is one way that you could get me involved. So if somehow, some way, we can get the fight I really want to happen, then I'm here for it. Because if there's one thing I want to see turned into a weird deer, it's a Hogak, a risen necropolis. Just made up of deer, like just dead deer, like that would be awesome.
Get those new money graveyard strategies out.
Yes.
Nice. Ruben?
Well, the fact that there are more food tokens in Standard than a Country Kitchen buffet makes me happy on being named after a sandwich level. But I think that we could go back for seconds. So tuck in your bibs and loosen your belts, everybody, because there's one arena I'm hoping to see Oko broach next: competitive eating. Get your popcorn ready. It's about to go down.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, my goodness. Well, look, you should see me in a crown. Oko is the king, the numero uno, the big cheese, the head honcho, but it's not the end-all be-all just yet, because one format yet remains to conquer, one brass ring yet to reach. I'm excited for Oko to make its mark on my favorite format, Pauper, because right now nothing is more common than seeing an Oko on the other side of the board.
Jesus.
Very nice. And that ends another live episode of Magic Mike's. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you.
We're going to move here to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, my co-host, Aaron Camel, and Room Bresser, you guys for watching or listening. I hope you support us at Patreon.com/MagicMikes. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord at Twitch.tv at MagicMikes, on Twitter at MagicMikesCast, our Magic Mike subreddit, and like the Magic Mike's page on Facebook, the page on Facebook. The page on Facebook, because that exists. Talk to us privately at magicmikespodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at magicmikespodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes or Spotify, or join us here next Thursday, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.